Hi friends, it's Tuesday, August 4. I'm outside here again. Just a reminder that we are starting to reopen church, and if you're interested in attending, if you're part of our local church community here, check out the registration email that Kelly sends out, or give us a call at the church at the office and let us know if you're planning to attend. It was really good this past Sunday to be able to start to regather in-person worship once again. Anyway, I wanted to talk today a little bit about something that I was reading in a book this morning by a woman named Christina Cleveland, and she tells the story of a football game that happened in 1951 between Princeton and Dartmouth. And these are two universities in the United States. And by all accounts, this football game was just nasty. These two teams had a bitter rivalry against one another, and one player ended up having his nose broken. Another player in the game ended up with a broken leg. These teams were just going for each other's throats. And in the aftermath of this game, it was pretty evident that both school communities thought that their team was less responsible for all the problems and the bitterness that went on the field. This makes sense. We're all kind of that way. The Princeton school students thought that the Dartmouth players were responsible for the issues, and the Dartmouth students thought that the Princeton players were primarily responsible for instigating the issues. And we do this as people, don't we? We blame the other group. We judge the other group. We do this politically. We think that the problems around us are the byproduct of those who have different political views than us. We do this as churches. The book used an example of a joint worship service where people will take credit for their church's contribution for everything that goes well in the service. But if the joint worship service with other churches doesn't go too well, they are quick to point a finger at other churches' contributions as causing the problems. So we are quick as people to judge based on our groups, based on what is our in-group, so to speak. And this goes right hand in hand with the passage that we looked at in church this past Sunday. If you were there, or if you checked out the live stream of our thoughts on that passage from Luke 4. But I want to draw our attention to something that Jesus says in Matthew 7, which is part of the Sermon on the Mount. This is Matthew 7, verse 3. Jesus says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?" Now, I noticed a couple things about Jesus' words here. Jesus is using hyperbole. He's exaggerating the sizes of these objects. A speck of sawdust is so small. A plank is so big. Why are you fixating on the speck of sawdust on your brother's eye, but you're ignoring this huge plank in your own eye? And there's also irony there. Jesus is using irony. It's almost a comical image, this judgmental person with this plank sticking out of their eye, this vivid language that Jesus uses. There's a certain irony to being judgmental in this way, right? Judging the speck of sawdust in your neighbor's eye while you've got a plank sticking out of your own eye. And what I want to wonder is, why do people have this tendency to be so judgmental? Like we saw with the school student communities of Dartmouth and Princeton, like we know that we can be politically judgmental towards whatever the other side is to us, and even as churches. What's behind this tendency to judge? There's a couple psychologists who were cited in this book I was reading who believe that the prejudice and the negative evaluations that we have of other people often come from our need to maintain high feelings and self-worth. So, in other words, we judge or criticize others because it makes us feel good. We've got a fragile identity. We want to boost ourselves up. Now, this goes right back to middle school, right? Why middle schoolers will criticize and judge each other to kind of boost themselves up. I think this gets to a heart issue that we all have, and that's the question of, where does our identity lie? Because if our identity lies in a sort of external group, a group of Dartmouth students, a group of Princeton students, a group of political conservatives, a group of political liberals, then in order to bolster up that identity, we're going to be constantly criticizing that other group. But that's not where our identity should lie. Our identity should lie in who we are in Christ. If our identity is found in who we are in Christ, then our identity will not be fragile, and our identity cannot be threatened. See, the Bible promises us that in Christ there is no condemnation, and nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. And the more our identity is rooted in Christ, the more we will see clearly. We're going to have that big plank taken out of our eye. And the less we'll be petty and judgmental toward other people, because we'll look at them and we'll realize that the only reason we are who we are, our whole identity, rests in Christ and what Christ has done for us. And whatever shortcomings they might possess or demonstrate are shortcomings that, if we're honest, we also have. Because they're such challenging words to take in, right? It is so hard to hear Jesus talk about not judging. It is so easy to judge, and it's so challenging. Jesus says in Matthew 7, verse 1, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." It's like we are doing ourselves injury when we're putting others down. And the thing that makes us judge other people is finding our identity in the wrong place, in these external things, in groups, in labels, rather than who we are in Jesus Christ. We don't secure our identity by putting others down. The fact is, we secure our identity by following Christ. The more we do so, I think the less judgmental we'll find we are, because that plank has been removed. All right, it looks like it might start raining on me in any second, so I'm going to go ahead and move inside, and we will see you next time. Have a great week.